A pregnant woman and her 2 daughters vanished from a small town in Colorado on a Monday morning. Her husband left before sunrise, came back 4 hours later and reported them missing. He cried in front of a news camera, said he missed his wife, said he missed his daughters. That same morning, he loaded something into his truck with the lights off. Not once. The 3rd time he came through that door, he turned sideways to fit through it. I watched all of it. I am the security camera mounted to the house across the street. And it was the only witness he forgot to consider.
Subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.
The pattern I had stored for him was consistent across months of footage. 1 bag, sometimes a thermos. He would cross to the truck, start the engine, and be out of frame in under 2 minutes. A routine repeated enough times to stop being visible. Some mornings he stopped at the truck door and checked his phone before getting in. Most mornings he did not. I had logged all of it. I am a security camera, mounted to the front of a house directly across that street in Frederick, Colorado. I covered the driveway opposite me, the stretch of curb between us, and the first few feet of road in either direction. I had logged him many times before that morning. None of it matched August 13th. First trip, nothing in his hands. He crossed to the truck, lowered the tailgate, and stood there with both palms flat against the bed, not unloading, not adjusting something already there, measuring the available space before anything had been placed in it. Then he went back inside. The street was still. No porch lights, no engines. Second trip, something held close to his body, both arms drawn in. Not swung, not dragged. Carried the way you carry something that requires an even surface and no sudden movement. He placed it in the bed and held it there a moment before releasing it. His hands stayed longer than the placement required. Third trip, he came through the door sideways, adjusting his hold before his feet hit the step. He crossed slower than the first 2 times. He set what he was carrying alongside what was already there, then pressed both hands flat against the load. He adjusted it. Left, right, back. He closed the tailgate. He checked it. He checked it again. Then he walked to the driver's side, sat in the cab, and stayed there a moment before starting the engine. The headlights did not come on. He reversed into the street in the dark and drove until he was out of frame. I cross-referenced the departure against every other morning I had logged him. The route matched, the time matched, the truck matched. The only thing that did not align with any prior log was what he was carrying and how he handled it. I had no framework for that difference. I filed it and held. He worked at an oil field operated by Anadarko Petroleum, roughly 40 miles from that street. His job required tools and equipment that were heavy and awkward to manage alone. Getting to the site before the crew was not unusual. Going without a second person was not unusual. The night before, he had messaged a coworker. He said he would go out alone that morning. He said there was no reason for both of them to make the drive. That is one reading of what I captured. A field engineer loading before sunrise, heavy equipment, a familiar route, headlights off to keep from waking the street. That explanation held for a while. His shift at the Anadarko site was logged as starting that morning. Coworkers placed him there. The route matched what I had recorded leaving that street. He said she was still in the house when he left. 2 timelines, same morning. They do not meet. I have no record of which one was constructed after the fact. Her friend Nicole had been sending messages that morning. Not one had been opened. She pulled up to the house and knocked. No answer. She called the number. Through the closed front door, she could hear a phone ringing somewhere inside the house. Ringing, stopping, ringing again. She knocked harder, called again. The phone inside kept ringing, with no one moving toward it and no one picking up. She called the police. Officers entered. Her purse was on the counter. Her keys were beside it. Her car had not moved from the driveway. The car seats for both girls were still buckled into the back of that car. Her phone was ringing inside an empty house with no one to reach it. Her keys, her car, the car seats. Each of those objects was exactly where a person would need it before going anywhere. All of them were still there. I have no record of her leaving. Shortly after noon, a news camera was set up on the lawn of that same house. He stood in front of it and said his wife and 2 daughters were missing. He said he had come home from work to find the house empty. He said he hoped anyone watching would come forward if they knew anything. He looked directly into the lens. That camera had no access to what I had stored. It did not know about the 3 trips. It did not know about the grip that changed on the 3rd one. The tailgate checked twice. The headlights that stayed off until he was already moving. The camera he chose to stand in front of captured a husband asking the public for help. The one he did not choose had already captured something else entirely. Several explanations were being tested. Not all of them had closed. She had found out about the affair. A woman in that position, with family across the country and friends in multiple states, might not announce her departure. She might leave through the garage, through the back of the house, a direction I could not see. What it could not account for was her phone. Her last outgoing signal had been sent at 1:48 in the morning. No message opened, no movement. She was not someone who went unreachable without a reason the people closest to her would have known about. That explanation did not survive that detail. Another possibility spread fast. He had been seeing someone. Her name was Nicole Kessinger, 1 letter away from the name of the friend who knocked on that door and called the police. In the first hours of the investigation, that 1 letter created confusion. 2 women, nearly identical names, one trying to find her, one who had been with him. The night before that morning, he sent her messages. The tone of those messages looked different. Once, investigators knew what the truck had been carrying. A second person, a second motive, a second set of hands. That theory was raised. It was examined. I have no record of a second name on any document that followed. He had lived on that street long enough to know which houses had exterior cameras. He had walked past the house I am attached to many times. One possibility is that he assessed the angle, the distance, the low light before dawn, and decided what I captured would not be sufficient to matter. He may have been right about the resolution. The footage contained what it contained, regardless. 2 days after that morning, investigators knocked on the door of the house I am mounted to. The neighbor answered. They asked to see the footage from August 13th. They sat together and watched it. When it finished, they made a call. What followed was captured by a body camera, worn by one of the officers, when investigators returned with questions. Chris Watts was in the front yard. The camera was already running. They told him security footage had been recovered from across the street. They asked him to walk through what he had done that morning. He said that was fine. They showed him what I had stored. He watched himself cross the driveway. He watched his own hands press flat against the tailgate. He watched himself check it, then check it again. The body camera held on his face while he watched. When they asked what he had loaded, a pause preceded the answer. Not long, but a pause that had no clear function. Between a simple question and a reply a person would already have ready. He said it was work equipment, tools for the site. The camera stored the answer and what came before it in a single continuous file. Later that afternoon, officers asked him about her. He answered in the past tense, not once. Across multiple questions about a woman he said he believed was somewhere reachable, he reached for the past tense. The body camera stored each instance. By early evening, he was walking out of the house alongside investigators. By early evening, he was in custody. The same driveway, the same truck, the same measured pace. He crossed the driveway and the camera across the street logged his exit. The same way it had logged everything else. Without interpretation, without judgment. That is the limit of what I am capable of. I captured 3 trips across a driveway before the street was awake. But the moment those frames were exposed to the light, the case did not end. It exploded into questions that have no bottom. He told investigators what happened that morning. He gave them a sequence. He named someone else first. That name did not hold. When the story changed, it was his own name that remained. They found her 100 miles from that driveway. The girls were nearby. Investigators had only begun to analyze what I had stored, and traces I had not been positioned to see were starting to surface. Between the two of us, we logged the morning and the afternoon of August 13th, 2018. But the arrest was just the prologue. Now it is your turn to answer. If you were the one watching from across that street, what would you have done with what you saw? Don't miss out on the next content. Subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.